Hey everybody, welcome in to TA Tuesday. It's always kind of funny. I didn't realize how much people love the TA Tuesday. So here we go. As usual, let's jump in and make sure everything is tracking, everything is going. We'll check in on the market live as well. And this, I always try and start with just a couple of thoughts, but it never ends. So it's literally a ton of material here, but I'll go through it very fast and hopefully you'll all get something from it. So without further ado, let's go. That shows you how much content is in there. It's more than 30 slides. So here today, we're going to talk about crypto, technical analysis, a lot of on-chain indicators, heavy focus on Bitcoin, crypto market, some of the crypto names, an update on smart contract platforms. And we're going to talk about a couple of our favorites, where we are with the Tesla short, what's going on with Square, look at some C19 plays like Zoom, and a whole bunch more. So it is a lot to do. So let's just jump in. Thank you all for being here. Because there's so much material, we're not going to do super chats, but I will promise to be back super chats tomorrow. I'm also on with CTO Larson tomorrow morning on his channel, and he's going to drill me on my investment philosophy. So make sure you dial in for that. So math, money, freedom, edutainment. You guys know the drill. Big theme today. I try to bring about a theme every single day is we have a long way to go. This market's not over. So despite what you hear, sometimes be careful of the Twitterverse. The tensions, as I say, are rising out there in the Twitterverse. I shouldn't even touch Twitter. I should ban myself from Twitter because sometimes you get into conversations. But anyway, here we are. Let's go. First of all, first subject in the box. I'm going to talk about my Black Friday Bitcoin theory. I believe, this is a wild guess and not financial advice, but I believe there are people like Elon Musk that sold a bunch of Tesla. Even today, it looks like he sold a ton as well. He's sitting on a bunch of fiat. What's he going to do with it? So we come off the max pain floor at 55K. We came down against it very early this morning as well. Touched on it briefly, 55.5, which is the floor. I was 500 off the first time. I call it 55, but really it's 55.5. And the question is, what's going to happen? Now, as you know, so Black Friday is a holiday for those outside of the US. It's an American holiday. No, sorry, Thanksgiving. I'm really bad at holidays. Sometimes I forget that it even is a holiday. But Thursday is a holiday called Thanksgiving. It's all about turkeys and stuff and pilgrims. And the day after is the biggest shopping day in the United States. Everything's on sale, but everything's on a perpetual sale nowadays anyway. But I think people will go crypto shopping. It's typically a very low volume day, so you can get great prices. So please, everybody, have your limit orders ready. Have some powder ready. Could be an opportunity. Then again, things could also sell or start selling ahead of time because the market sometimes wants to get ahead of all the big buyers. So I think we could see some rocket ships this weekend, and it's a long weekend. So watch for that. That's my Black Friday theory. Let's go to the next one. This is, again, it's like never ending. This is a new thing. This is what's called a low STH, which is the short-term holder supply. And what's interesting about this, you haven't seen me talk about this particular chart before. And I'll give you the short rundown of it. But typically, you see this stuff at the beginning of a bear market. All right. Now we are in the middle of a bull market. So this is extremely bullish to see this activity, which is akin to the end of a bear market happening in the middle of a bull market. Again, I've never seen this before. It's weird. But here we see the total supply held by STHs, short-term holders, is at a multi-year low, less than 3 million Bitcoin, which means the long-term holder supply is as a multi-year high in contrast. Now, this low short-term holder supply is typical at the end of the bear market, like I mentioned before, and in very, very early bull markets, right at the beginning. So it's just strange to see this. But anyway, it's a unique case. We'll monitor it carefully. But net, it's bullish. Now, let's talk a little bit about the importance of first mover advantage. These are the Bitcoin futures ETF. And the reason I'm sharing this with you, it shows the asset under management distribution by the 3 futures ETF funds in the United States. You can see it's important to be first. You know, if you're not first, you're last. I think it was from a famous car movie, a very funny one. with Will Ferrell. But you can see BITO have 95.5%, and that's the only one that I trade, by the way, as well. Van Eck, complete failure, 0.6% of the assets, and Valkyrie, 3.9%. So again, the ETF has gained traction, but it's all in BITO as well. And it's actually helped pump things like GBTC as well, and hopefully reduce that premium a little bit. So hopefully many of you got some at 15% off. Now let's talk about the Dixie update. This is important to look at. We touched on this last week, and I showed you my chart with all the arrows up and down and how it's correlated. But now we're beginning to see the world of global macro heat up heading into the year end. And once again, we find ourselves coming back to the most important macro variable right now, which is the US dollar. Now, the US dollar has strengthened considerably in recent weeks, with growing expectations for tighter monetary policy. This is what we call taperings, when the Fed doesn't buy as many bonds. And we'll see what happens. Now, the strong dollar would historically lead you to believe that it is a headwind for equities, and including crypto and Bitcoin. But over the last 18 months, we're seeing it starting to reverse course. So global liquidity growth is slowing a little bit, and the shift towards tighter policies to combat inflation could be strong, but fragile. I can't see them doing much. And we'll monitor this closely as well, but I'm not rattled at all by what we see in this chart whatsoever. And again, I always talk now about Bitcoin being the new kind of flight to safety as we go forward, and all fiat is going to hell. Speaking of all fiat going to hell, check this out. This is a tweet of mine from this morning. This is hyperinflation in action. This is the Turkish lira against Bitcoin. Now, as a sign of how bad all currencies are, Turkish hyperinflation is visual right here. Now, I feel for our friends in Turkey. I'm very sorry for them. They lost 33% of their purchasing power in 11 days, over the last 11 days. So you imagine you have $100,000 in the bank and you go away for a 10-day vacation, you come back, and now there's 66,000, 67,000 in the bank in just 10 days. That's what these people are feeling. It is shocking. Now, the good news is, although Bitcoin's up 500% against the lira, if you just had approximately 10% Bitcoin a year ago, you would have been protected. Again, hedge. Note as well that the President Erdogan of Turkey tried to ban Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is one of the most popular search terms in Turkey. People are clever. People find a way around. People hedge themselves. They don't sit and wait, and they don't trust their leaders anymore. So that's the Turkish news. And mushroom coffee time. Little Dunder Mifflin action. So excuse me while I take a sip. It's been a super busy day. Let's go next. So this one is Bitcoin exchange net position draining. I'm going to give you guys a second to look at this one. Now, you remember about a week ago, I saw some Bitcoin coming onto the exchanges, that little green piece that you see there on the chart, but it was very short-lived. And I was concerned when I first saw that happening, because that's typically when the whale starts selling and dumping, and that can bring about a lot of downward pressure. But it was just a little taste, and it didn't last long at all. Thank you, Henwen, for that. So if we look at this net position change, it shows the amount of hardcore drainage. And now there's only 12.8% of all Bitcoin supply left in exchanges. This is the lowest level since February 2018. And if you remember yesterday, 12% is what's left of Ethereum on exchanges. 12.8% Bitcoin, 12% Ethereum. It is shockingly scarce stuff. And that's good for us. So another view of this is the Glassnode view. Again, this is the straight balance on Glassnode, and you can see where we're going. Again, 2.4 million Bitcoin on exchanges, which is a new 3-year low, as I mentioned, looking at it another way. So let's talk about, first of all, Bitcoin chart. This is an ascending triangle. We will break before Christmas, so it's a bit of an extremely conservative thing. But in case you were not convinced, this is the classic ascending triangle. You can see there, the little wedge. And the only way out is up. There's no way of going down with this type of formation. It's extremely rare that it happens. So if you weren't already convinced, if you look at this chart and you look at the RSI beneath, you can see the only way is up. The RSI is down around 50. So it's nowhere near close to being overbought. So this ascending wedge is going to be breaking out to the top real soon. Watch Mark my words. Let's look at another chart. This is another view of the macro trend line and the current channel. Now, this is from a guy called Endless Grind, and I found his chart extremely interesting on TradingView because he sees the same type of things I see. Like my max bottom floor for Bitcoin is 40,000. So that is after we go through the bull market, we won't go beneath 40,000 anymore ever again. That's my theory, and that's what he calls the macro trend line. And I've had that 40K for quite a while. I just saw his chart for the first time today. Big thank you to Sanjay for sending it to me. Second of all is the current channel. This is where we are based on the market and how we are ramping up. Now, this current channel is right at 55K, which coincidentally is also my max pain floor. So I don't know if we're all in one big echo chamber, or we're all seeing the same things, or TA works. Pick one. I don't know. But I think the numbers really prove out a lot. So let's talk about, this one is very important, the miner share of spot volume. As you know, miners earn Bitcoin and they can influence the market. At least heavily in the past, they were able to influence the market. But what's happening now is since the halving in May 2020, the 900 Bitcoin mined a day has been about 0.7% of the spot volume. Now, before the halving, it was 1800 Bitcoin was mined a day, and that was about over 2% of the actual spot volume, sometimes 2.5%. Now, the 0.7% share of the spot volume that miners now receive in block rewards is not nearly enough to move the market. But the other thing that's really interesting is the miners aren't selling. They've become much more financially sophisticated, and they are hodling, and they are hodling hard, as we know. So again, that's just an interesting graph to show you supply is super scant. We used to have 1800 coming in every single day. Now it's 900, but that 900 isn't even hitting the market. So there you go. And I touched on this yesterday, but briefly again, the Puell multiple verifies that miners are not selling. So we touched on that yesterday. I won't repeat it again, but it's just another reference point that all roads lead to absolutely scarce supply as we go forward. So next thing in the box, this is the MVRV Z-score. It's at 2.49. For those of you who don't remember me talking about it, the MVRV Z-score is a function of the difference between the total market cap and the realized market cap, i.e. the divided by standard deviation. This shows you how many standard deviations the market value differs from the realized value, and the realized value is the last time at which the coins moved. Now, according to this, the time to get worried, if you look at the red bar at the top, again, just to hammer it home, it's typically above 7.5, 7.6. We are now, today, at 2.49. It's actually come down since last week, and that is the exact score as of right now. So again, bull run, we are still early. A long way to go, everybody. Now let's talk about the spent volume age bands. This is another kind of new one, but important to look at. And this identifies the age of coins dominating the on-chain flows in any given day. And this can help analysts determine when and where long-term holders, i.e. those with the most conviction, are spending their Bitcoin. Now, while this tool doesn't necessarily provide provision for finding tops and bottoms in price, it does demonstrate the process of profit-taking or accumulation. And that's important for us to know. So it can also be used to track sentiment of various cohorts of investors. Like, for example, in December 2020, early 2021, there was a consistent spending of coins aged greater than 1 month, which is about 5% of the on-chain volume. And ending in April, May 2021, when Bitcoin was around 30K, the SVAB had a spike to about 40K in August. So basically, it's reverted back to 2.5% of the daily volume, which suggests the net message for everybody here is older coins are increasingly dormant, i.e. the long-term hodlers are holding, which means they are likely that they are accumulating. They are not exiting positions. Another bullish sign. So the smart money, the smart hodlers are holding and accumulating, not selling. So the only people that are selling are short-term investors. Now, this one is another view into how the Bitcoin bull run is moving into overtime. So I got a lot of questions like, so what's with plan B? It's not happening. So everybody, please, plan B is he's been brilliant so far. All right. If he misses one, that's okay. Don't hate on him or say he's fixing the markets or he's a whale or he's manipulating. He's just a guy like me, looking at numbers and analytics and building models, and that's it. So please, no hate on Plan B. Maybe he'll miss this one. Most likely he will. I'm 99% sure we will not see a $98,000 Bitcoin in November, 135 in December. But he might be off by 6 or 8 weeks or 2 to 3 months. We'll wait and see. Now, but the point of this is, per this chart, let me pop up so you can see, is the bull market is running longer. You heard me say this in summer. The lengthening cycles theory is nothing new. And a quick glance at Bitcoin's chart shows that the amount of time between each market bottom and the blow off top has historically increased. So a quick reminder, the first cycle was 50 weeks, second cycle 102 weeks, third cycle 152. So far, we're at 153. So if you add those, the 50 to 102 to 153, we could easily go to 200 weeks, and that will take us out a long time. So either way, I'm pretty convinced that between the lengthening cycle of the addition of 50 weeks, plus you could also you could add the 3-month China mining ban to that tally, could take us easily, I say definitely till March 2022, but also maybe out to June 2022 or even further. And also remember, the elephant in the room is the spot ETF approval. I expect that to be approved in June 2022. Imagine if we go up gradually until June 2022, and then the spot ETF is approved. Game over. It'll be going real high. So this is from TechDev. Again, what's interesting about this one is I'm a big fan of RSI, and he was drilling into RSI today, and he showed the RSI comparison between 2017 and 2021, and I'll do more RSI as we go through this. But you can see here the sprung run up, August recovery in November, retest, etc. And the RSI is in charge. It's in no man's land, which is at the 50 level, which is the line at the bottom in the middle. And you can see the only way up from here after the November retest is up, which is extremely positive. Now, if you look at this chart as well carefully and you drill into the projection based on RSI, this could bring about a market cap of 4 to 5 trillion, which would be a Bitcoin price of $180,000 to $240,000, which would be significant. I don't see it going that high, but anyway, we'll see. Either way, the RSI is probably going to pounce. Another backup of RSI, this is more RSI data. You're going to hear a lot about that today. So not only are we going longer, but we're talking a lot about RSI. And it's one of my favorite indicators, as I mentioned before. This is the 3-day sandwich right now. And here we are hanging around the 50 RSI level, and it needs to go up to the 75 to 80 level in this little RSI wedge channel that's happening. And the only way out is up, considering we are at the 50 level now. It's highly unlikely we're going to go down. So that's it. And more from Econometrics tracker, 560 days after the third halving, and Bitcoin's at 57.6. Let's get the exact quote. It's 57.6 when I looked at this. 57.6 on the nose. It hasn't just been kind of flat for the last 2 hours. So here we are. Now, if you weren't already convinced, we have a long way to go, everybody. And no blow-offs have happened yet. It's a very gradual accumulation. So let's split and talk right now about the smart contract platforms. This is a quick chart we hammered together. Somebody was talking about this, how there's it's one of the things I've always been focusing on, as well as maybe other people have seen, but this bifurcation of the SCP market. So over the last 90 days is what this chart represents. I listed some of my favorite names, all the top SCP plays that either have moved or haven't. So the top 4 leading the pack with Phantom over the last 90 days, remember, is up 308%. Elrond, 248%. Solana, 206%. And Avalanche is up 152%. So you can see here that the bigger things get, the slower they move. Obviously, it's very important to look at relative market caps. It's very difficult to move a $1 trillion asset to $2 trillion. But it's easy to move a $50 billion asset to $500 billion. So just think about that as we go forward. Now, the other group at the bottom has Algorand. It's up 54%. Ethereum is up 34%. Remember, it's a $500 billion asset. Matic is up 5%. Very disappointing. And Cardano is down 37%. So that's kind of an interesting way of looking at kind of the markets. You got the really quick runners where the money is gravitating to. The names that I mentioned, Phantom, Elrond, Solana, Avalanche. They seem to be garnering a lot of the attention right now, a lot of the money over the last 90 days. And then you got the laggards hanging behind. And some of those will pounce. I'm still patient for things like Matic, but we'll see. Now let's talk about Solana. This one has been super interesting. Now, I'm going to show you something that I'm digging into. We are analyzing the Larsen line, and we're going to hopefully, no promises, but combine it with some of the things that we look at to come up with some other interesting patterns, for short-term traders, medium-term traders, etc. But when you look at this one stood out to me, is you can see basically anytime Solana dipped into the Larsen line, it was a kill zone buy. And note also the picture perfect bounce off the 50-day moving average, which was the snipe alert at 191 the other day, which is great. And coincidentally, that 50-day moving average also corresponds exactly to the 0.618 Fibonacci level. So you can't make this stuff up. Whole bunch of confluence of patterns all happening at the same time. And that's what we're trying to dig into and give you guys the tools you need to become more successful, to be able to identify uptrends, downtrends, when to get in, when to get out, etc. So stay tuned for more as we figure that stuff out. Now this one, I'm kicking myself. I am so pissed. I had a limit order in my Voyager account, not FTX account. This is Phantom's available on FTX outside the US, I think, but not in the US. I do have it on Voyager, and my limit order missed by a penny. It went down to 192 twice yesterday. I had a limit order of 191. So I completely forgot I had a limit order in there, so sorry to Patreon for not informing you I had it. I forgot. I got so many exchanges, I can't remember what's in all of them. And also, you can't catch them all. But the point is, nobody's perfect, and limit orders miss sometimes. Sometimes you nail them, sometimes you miss them by a penny, twice in one day. So I thought that was interesting. But I am looking to get into Phantom. That's the message here. When I did my should I buy Phantom, I said I buy it at 221. I didn't. Then I said I buy it at 201. I didn't. Third time lucky, and I missed it by a penny. So that's the Phantom news. Now, Ethereum, this one broke under 4,500 at a beautiful triple bounce off the 4,500 level. And it fell under the 50-day moving average. It also fell out of that ascending channel, the two green lines that I've drawn there. And it fell out of the Bollinger Bands. So it's like falling, boom. But the market has also been very weak. So you got to take that into account. Now, the weakness obviously infected Ethereum. And here we are. There's been a lot of bad press lately, but that buy level at $4,000, again, indicated by hitting that 50-day moving average and being so far outside the Bollinger Band, was definitely a good indicator. I did not buy at that level. I have enough Ethereum. In fact, I'm looking to find a way to magically turn it into Solana if I could. But that's where we are with Ethereum. Again, I'm still very bullish in Ethereum considering the supply situation. But the gas fees are really, really triggering people off. And remember, everybody, I will slay this. The Ethereum is my second biggest bag. And if something comes out, or if Vitalik Buterin says something stupid, I'll be the first to say it. I have no allegiance to anything, but I will tell you what I feel. Good, bad, or indifferent. And it'll be objective and truthful. So that's the Ethereum news. Now let's look at Ethereum versus Cardano ratio. As you guys know, I like to look at trading pairs. And this one is kind of interesting today, because the Cardano over Ethereum trading pair is the ratio of Cardano to Ethereum is currently at 0.004049. Again, more fours are popping into my life. Between threes and fours, I get a lot of those. But it's a 10-month low, which means Cardano has not been this low against Ethereum for quite some time. So we'll wait and see. Now, I did talk about this back in September, again in October. I had a feeling that we might see a death cross for Cardano. It looks like it could hit on December 3rd or maybe sooner if it continues to go down. But Cardano, and of the top 100 cryptos, I found one other that has a death cross coming up in December, and I'll talk about that next. But here, typically when a death cross happens, 65% of the time, it's a bad omen. 35% of the time, it's not that bad. So don't freak out, everybody. It's not the end of the world, but it's definitely not super bullish, super positive. Now, this is the other one I found. This is Hex. Hex, as you guys know, is the biggest Ponzi scheme, one of the best and biggest out there. So would not touch with a 1,000-foot pole, But here, it just shows you they have a death cross coming up too, maybe December 8th at this rate. So obviously, be careful out there if you hold any hex, because that chart definitely doesn't look good. So let's compare death crosses for a second. I'm going to switch gears and show you where another one popped up. And this is on Zoom. This was a classic C19 play. Again, you can see a couple of indicators here. We have the Bollinger Bands, we have the 50-day, 200-day moving average, etc. We've got the RSI at the bottom. According to this, the RSI on Zoom has never been so oversold for over a year and a half. Now, they did have a death cross, and that did signify a very good downtrend. So this is an example of where a death cross actually does work. But right now, you could argue that Zoom is very oversold. I do not own Zoom. I just wanted to pull up an example of how a death cross can indicate or be foreboding of a negative future. Now, Zoom has a couple of problems. Obviously, the question is their growth rate catching up with their valuation? And we'll see. Maybe not. So the market is a little bit worried. Their earnings were good, but people are worried about that growth rate ratio to sustain that type of PE of 200 or whatever it is right now. So we'll watch that carefully. That's Zoom news. Now, speaking of our other favorite, Tesla, switching gears, here we have the Tesla chart. Obviously, I do believe it's still overbought. It's very interesting. As you know, every time you see a hammer, that's when I go short in a position. Just so you guys know when you look at my charts, I have long, leap, and equity positions in Tesla. My cost basis is very low. But the short is against my equity position, so I don't mind getting called out. If it does spike to $1,500, bye-bye my equity position. I still have my leaps on Tesla. So just for those, some people ask me questions, what is my kind of mix? Now, there is rumors of a stock split coming up for Tesla, and that would be huge for the price. Obviously, that really pumps things. And this is the chart. Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting is the fact that Joe Biden, the president, I hate getting political, but he was out in front of a bunch of union leaders at General Motors talking about how General Motors make the best electric vehicle in the world. It's like complete face palm. Like at this stage of his career, why is he pandering to unions? Why can't he just be honest and straight? So it's very, very stupid. And I hate to talk politics, but it's just, ugh. Tesla's a clear leader, and the fact that he has his back turned to them is just stupid. Anyway, MicroStrategy, another opportunity for you all. Sorry for going so long, but there's just so much to cover. This is, of course, our favorite Bitcoin proxy, MicroStrategy here. You can see the chart again. Now, every time you see those two arrows pointing up, the orange is the Bitcoin price, and the one below, I can't even see it on the color, but it's hard to see because it's covered with the Larsen line. But that is the MicroStrategy price. And you can see every time it goes above 30% delta between the Bitcoin price and the MicroStrategy price, it is an arbitrage opportunity. And the corollary is also true. So here we have an opportunity. And we mentioned that earlier today as well internally. So if you look at the ARB calculator, it's a bit of a no-brainer. Per my thesis that we could have a big Black Friday, I'll repeat that. Watch my words. I think this could be a bumper weekend for Bitcoin and crypto. It could be very strong. Despite low volumes, could also be a buying opportunity. But I do believe Bitcoin will go up while the stock markets are closed, and it could open very high on Monday, which means MicroStrategy will be very undervalued. Now, according to my arbitrage calculator, the true value, the fair value of MicroStrategy based on the Bitcoin price, because it's 95% Bitcoin, is between $754 and $796. And right now, when I made this alert this morning, MicroStrategy is trading at $680. That's 74 points on the table for free. Straight ARB. Nobody's figured it out yet, so we'll see. Anyway, let's talk about Square, last one. The Square is at, just like a lot of tech names, a lot of biotech names got completely crucified today in the market. In fact, Tesla took a big retracement, then bounced towards the close. But here you can see Square, again, it's at the 0.5 fib retracement level, which is a big retracement, everybody. And if you look at the RSI, it's hit this level 3 times in the last year and a half. So this is telling me, if I had to choose between Zoom and Square, I'd probably buy Square right now. I have a big Square position, not pumping my bags, just sharing what I see. And this is definitely very oversold right now. It just dropped out of the Bollinger Bands too. So we'll watch that carefully. But that looks like overbought. And PayPal's in an even worse situation. So we'll see. Quick reminder, if anybody really wants to invest, there is a Black Friday sale on TradingView. I'm not pumping or shilling. All this money goes towards an orphanage we're going to build. So that's where we are. So the link is in the description below. If you want to avail of that, I do recommend it. I live in TradingView. It's a very powerful tool. If you took it away from me, I would be worthless. So that's TA Tuesday. Hope you like the content. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm doing a video with CTO Larson in the morning, but I'll do a quick news and some Q&A for you guys as well in the afternoon, probably around 3 p.m. Pacific. Okay, so thank you everybody for being here, and I'll see you soon.